Welcome, everyone. I'm Sage Hurley. Thank you all for being here tonight at the Union Fan Town Hall. I want to begin by introducing tonight's panelists, Principal Owner and Chairman Jay Sugarman, Vice Chairman Richard Leibovitch, Sporting Director Ernst Tanner, Head Coach Jim Curtin, and President Tim McDermott. Before we begin, I want to provide a brief overview of what to expect tonight. Last week, everyone here received an online form to submit questions, and we got quite a few. Based on your submissions, the topics we will cover include ownership investment, roster building, ticketing, and stadium updates. I'll be asking fan-submitted questions on those topics, but this is a town hall after all, so we're giving you, everyone in the building, a chance to voice your questions here on a microphone. We'll be passing it around throughout the night. If you would like to ask a question, there will be many opportunities to do so, so please raise your hand and the roaming mic will come to you. With that, we'll get into our program. Jay, do you want to kick things off?
Sure, Sage, thank you. Really, I just want to say thank you to everybody who came out tonight. It's not lost on us that this club wouldn't be here without you, without the fans, and a lot of our success over the past 5 or 6 years has been because of that support. So we appreciate everyone taking the time to come meet with us, talk with us. We hope it's an open conversation tonight. We've been working on building this into one of the best clubs in this league for many, many years. We're not all the way there, but we certainly hope you take pride in what the Philadelphia Union has become. And these guys are doing a ton of work every day to try to make us better. And we want to share as much of that as we can. Obviously, there's some things we're not able to go into, but I think as Sage said, we want to have a conversation about the big topics that you're thinking about. So if you have questions, please don't be shy. I know you're not, but please let us know what questions you have so we can answer them.
Thank you. So our first topic of the evening is investment. This opening question comes from the online fan forum. It feels that there is a lack of investment by the ownership group in terms of major player signings, rather prioritizing other off-field projects. What is the benefit for season ticket members to continue with their plans when the team isn't serious about winning?
All right, let me start with at least speaking for everybody on this panel, and I can speak for everybody in ownership. We've got our blood, sweat, and tears in this club. Not only do we care about winning, but we can't stand losing. So know that every day, every night, every week, we are working to try to figure out how to be better. Sometimes we're going to get it wrong, but I hope as you've seen over the past 5, 6 years, this is a club that is built to succeed. We won't accept less. And we've brought in the talent we need to create that strategy. We're investing a ton of money against that strategy. We believe in our players. We believe in that strategy. So we're not going to get it right every time, but I have to say the idea that we're not serious about winning just kills us. We are deadly serious about winning. And I know I was texting with Richard last night during the game. This guy, he can't stand the idea that we're going to lose. So I don't know. You can probably say it better than I can.
Sure. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Richard Leibovitch. I'm one of the minority owners. I bought into the ownership group in 2018. And I will tell you that for me, the Philadelphia Union has been life-changing, not just for me, but for my whole family. This is what we talk about at breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning. It's the last thing I think about when I go to sleep. Winning is everything to us, to my family. Jay and I, we talk daily. That's all we want. We want to win yesterday. We want to win Saturday. We want to win this year. We want to win next year. We want to win for the next 5 years, and we want to dominate. And I honestly think it's going to be very hard for you to find a more dedicated ownership group who cares more about winning than the ownership group of the Philadelphia Union. We get to go to these board meetings, and We meet all the other owners. I'll tell you, the amount of care and time and dedication that we as an ownership put in is unbelievable. So, there's nothing that hurts me more than to think that, ownership doesn't care. That's all we care about. And by the way, if you see me around, I come an hour, 2 hours before the game. You'll see me milling around Union Yards or at the Sons of Ben tailgate. Please come over. I'm happy to talk about the union, the direction, the players, whatever you want to talk about. I love talking about it, and I love being with the fans. You'll see me with my son sometimes in the Sons of Ben section, cheering. So, this is our life, and you should know that.
Comes down to me to justify why we are not spending, okay? We could have spent 3 million for Baribo or Gastag easily, because all these clubs, they want to take our money, don't worry. But I think what is important is that you buy players who fit the purpose for what you are doing. And that pretty much worked out well in the past. And I remember the early days when we were going for a left fullback, and even our internal people could not believe that there is a left fullback in a third league in Germany who could be good for us. And he was only 50,000 originally, and then we needed euros, by the way, and then we needed to add 2 times 10,000 in bonuses, and he turned out to be the best left defender in our league. Yeah? And even, I don't know even who wrote it, but it was probably one of our writers here after the first friendly match against Montreal, where Sagna put in the crosser which led to the goal. They already wrote there that cannot be going good because he's so cheap out of the third league in Germany. How can you do that? Montreal is much better than him. So, but the past taught us that this is not true. We need to do exactly what is making us successful, and even rather more important than spending is what we are doing in player development. And I do not just talk about our academy, where we, by the way, invest most of the money by far throughout the league. I'm talking about the player development, which is happening in our second team, in our first team, with our current roster. That is really what makes a difference, because otherwise, the Atlantas, Torontos, Miamis, and Los Angeles, and Galaxies, first and foremost, they would have won the league every year, but they didn't. So there needs to be something different, which is more important than buying the next most expensive player who likes it over here, nice life, but maybe doesn't fit your roster. Sorry for that long excursion, but I hope that's okay, Sage.
Going off of that, the word sustainability is consistently used by front office members, explaining why the club doesn't invest as much in transfer fees and salaries compared to other teams. What team are we modeling our sustainability practices off of?
Well, we are modeling, I've been working over in Europe in a lot of developmental clubs, like in Salzburg, who have been doing a fantastic job. We even did a very good job in player development in Hoffenheim. We played with almost an under-23 in Hoffenheim. And if you look at very successful clubs over in Europe who do a fantastic job in player development, they are up in their leagues, they have international success, and they are not necessarily the top spending and biggest clubs, but most of them are selling very well. Yeah.
So how are the fees from players like Julian Carranza being used to reinvest in the team?
Yeah, that's what most of the people do not know. We get always GAM, which is general allocation money, for most of you guys know that, but and that's the game we directly reinvest, and we can also convert in future up to 3 million out of every transfer in game. We can reinvest in the team, so that's the mechanism we usually use. In addition to quite some cash we are getting from ownership, so that's a MLS specific mechanism, and we were doing well in the past with that, I think.
So we'll take one more investment question from the online form before we allow fans in the audience to raise their hand. How did the union plan to keep pace with teams spending multiple times more than us?
Okay, so that one goes back to the whole strategy around how we're going to be better than other teams in our league, and this really came from Ernst's career. How do you beat clubs that can spend more than you? And we believe in his strategy, which is really based on our style of play, our development pipeline, the constant search for players who fit our system, the re-signing of players who've trained in our system. So I want to make sure everybody understands, this year we're going to spend $100 million on a sports complex and on covering the operating losses of this team. So it's not quite right to say we don't spend. We're about to spend $100 million. There's very little revenue coming off of those fields. There's very little revenue coming from that sportsplex. What is coming is an ability to attract the best players in America to the #1 academy and have them train in an environment where we think we can make them the best players. Some of them will get sold, some of them will play with us. But when Ernst brought this strategy to us 6 years ago, we looked at a lot of different strategies for the Philadelphia Union. We wanted to find one that would sustainably win again and again and again, year in and year out. And we have been willing to invest in that strategy because we believe in that strategy. We fundamentally believe we are a little bit different than some of the clubs that Ernst mentioned. They're going to be great at their strategies, but this is a strategy we think we can be the best at. And we've spent the time and the money so far to have the best academy, to really focus on the key parts of the development process. I do think if we're going to compete consistently, sustainably with clubs who have bigger stadiums, who have higher ticket prices, who have more sponsorship than we do, we can't just do what they do well. We have to do what we do really well. And I think you've seen that over the past couple of years. Richard said we go to these board meetings at MLS, and a lot of people are trying to copy what we're doing. They're not trying to copy what those other teams are doing. They're trying to copy what we're doing. So I think we're doing a lot right. We've still got more to do. Obviously, there's plenty of stuff to criticize, and we criticize ourselves every day to try to figure out what can we do better. But I hope there's no question that we want to win. We will spend against the strategy that we've agreed is the best for us, and we won't stop until it succeeds. And I think so far we've been really pleased with the results, but there are things we're constantly testing and asking ourselves, should we do it even better? Can we tweak it? And you're right to ask us questions. We ask those questions internally. Could we spend more money on transfer fees versus development and re-signing our existing players? That's a really good question. That's a hard question. We have to ask that question almost every year. We've chosen to re-sign our players. And I'll tell you a statistic that makes us proud is when you look on transfer market, the value of our team as evidenced by what they think our squad is worth, we're #4 in the league. So we may not have paid the most money for those players, but they evaluated that as we have one of the best squads in the league. The other 4 teams in the top 5, LA, LAFC, Columbus, and Miami. So we're not willing to accept mediocrity. We're not willing to accept being second citizens. We want to be the best, but we're going at it the way Ernst told us he would be able to do it. And he's had a partner in Jim who's been able to actually fulfill that mission part of the way. We're not all the way there yet. We're not going to claim victory. This league's getting better. We have to keep getting better. But I hope, as you look around this campus, as you follow the team, you understand that we're right there with you. We're asking the same questions. We're thinking the same thoughts. But we still believe deeply in the strategy we're following, and we're spending a lot of money against that strategy. Maybe not the one that some other clubs follow, but one that I think we can be the best in.
Like Jay mentioned earlier, this club was built by you, the fans. So with that, if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand. Allie has the microphone.
Hi, my name is Anthony. I've been a season ticket holder since the very beginning, me and my family. not necessarily a question, but like you're talking about investments, and so, you know, we find these people who we sign, like the guy from Haiti, and I just have to spend like 2 hours Googling him and finding great YouTube videos about who this guy is. And then we develop them, right? And bad timing, but Jose's a great example. Like, we didn't know who he was when he came, and now he's gonna, and Julian's the same way. Like, we find these guys, sorry. Sorry. And we find these guys and we develop them and they get really good and we get really attached to them. And then what seems like a very small amount of money, they're gone, right? Like, I don't think to keep Julian here would have been a huge amount of money. Doesn't look like to keep Jose here would be a huge amount of money. And maybe he doesn't fit into your plan, but it's hard. It's very hard as a fan to see these guys come in, don't know who they are, watch them develop, get really good, and then leave. And then we got to do it all over again. And for what I feel like isn't like a significant leap in play or in standings or in trophy or hardware, right? So it's not really a question. It's just, it's hard as a fan to kind of just go through that over and over again. Right? Like the guy from Haiti, I guess he's going to fill in for where Jose is, but I don't know this guy. Like, is he going to be good? Maybe. Is he going to be bad? Maybe. But like, that doesn't help me in the next 5 weeks as we're trying to get through this tournament. Maybe win, maybe not. Or, you know, make the playoffs, maybe not. It's just hard as a fan. Like, it's not a question. It's just, that's the way I feel as a fan. I've been here like 15 years. We've been through this a lot. It's hard to come all the time and just go through the same thing over and over again and not win anything. So, thanks.
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you for that. It's Anthony, it's justified. The answer is pretty simple for me. We are not the only ones out there, and players just have a desire to go to better environments, different leagues, and you can only keep them for a limited period of time and keep them motivated. You know, for Julian, I mean, we were refusing a transfer. He was refusing a transfer to Werder Bremen, for instance, in the last days of the transfer window last summer, so pretty much a year ago. Everything was signed and everything was agreed and exchanged, and he didn't enter the plane which was booked 4 hours before the plane left for the medical. He told us, no, I don't want to go. He also wanted to go to another club in Greece, and we refused to that. And we agreed, okay, he will play towards the end of the season and be as successful as we can be in that season. It didn't really work out because we quit the playoffs. A little bit unlucky in Cincinnati, as everybody knows, that the goal was irregular. But it could have gone better, let's say like that. It was always clear that Julian wants to be transferred. And even in winter, we were talking about a transfer, but we decided, okay, this is maybe not the right way to do it, and we did it in summer, which was literally the last point of time to get anything. And I also need to say that the summer window is way better than the winter window for the players to go out, because then they can do their preseason in a different club, better club. That's also something we need to consider. And we are not here to kill the career of players. We want to be supportive. And that's also supportive to the fame and glory of our club. If we do not refuse all the time, but also tell them, hey, if you served our club well and you did your development and with all the guys who are really developing over the level of the league, yeah, you can't keep them here. You need to give them to the better club or a better league. And basically, that's what the league also needs to understand. We need to develop further on as a league. And once we are at the top, we can keep our players. But we are not there yet. That's what we also need to acknowledge. Yeah? We have some way to go.
I would just add, look, we up here love Julian Carranza. I love Jose Martinez. I'll love them forever. As crazy as Jose is, I love him. The reality is, though, guys, if you look at both instances, and every instance is going to be different, and I agree with you. The ultimate goal is winning, and that will always be the ultimate goal, and that's what makes us happy. Those guys did win us a lot of games. They won us a Supporter Shield. They won us an Eastern Conference Final. They got us close to an MLS Cup. It still kills me every day that we didn't get there. But if you think of where those two guys started, Jose is a kid from one of the worst neighborhoods in Venezuela, you would say? I think he cost Ernst $25. I mean, he was a real bargain. And he showed up to us. And I got to be honest, his first day of training, I'm going, who is this kid? He was so out of his depth and so overwhelmed. If you remember, COVID happened right before he played. We threw him into the one game against LAFC, Rocky status with the bloody nose. He comes off the field. So we still have all these great memories that you guys have. So when guys move on, I don't think you can look at it as the end. He said it himself. He wants to come back here and retire someday. So there's love on both sides. I get that doesn't help us win tomorrow's game, but as we sit here in the middle of a transfer window where hundreds of players right now, their future is hanging on by a thread, where they're going to be, where they're going to live. Is it going to be life-changing money for their family? I'm not just speaking about Jose. I'm speaking about hundreds and hundreds of players right now. I still like to focus on the fact that we did something good with them. They're part of our family forever. The highs, the great wins, the tough, heartbreaking losses, but they're still one of us. Even Carranza, he was a teenager sent to Miami, and the next week they signed Gonzalo Higuain. Guess who's not going to play for Miami, guys? Julian was stuck. He was in a bad spot. In some way, we reached out and saved him. Ernst did a creative deal for a very low fee. We rent him, and he scores a ton of goals. So these ideas and the two players you bring up that we love and I will miss forever and we'll be friends forever, and we still will. And Jose's still here so far, and crazy things happen. But look. These guys are still part of our club. I still think the right thing for them in their career at this time was to move on. And guess what? There's going to be the next guys. Donley, you guys are going to love him. I can promise you guys that. And there's a young kid right now that's playing in our academy that you don't know his name yet that's going to help as well. So it doesn't stop. This game, it keeps going. As hard as it is to lose players, the ultimate goal will always be winning. But one of our pillars, the third one, I won't bore you guys because I talk the most, and you hear me too much probably with press conferences and things. But you guys know, we want to build from within. That's with players from the academy, also coaches. If you look around the league and the staff members throughout the league now, we have a lot to be proud of because a lot of them are doing really well all over not just our league, but all over the world. We realize that 11 cohesive players together can beat any group of individual superstars. I think that caters to you guys as we sit up there and cheer as Sons of Ben and all the different fan bases and groups that, we like to be an underdog here. So that I think applies. And then the innovation part, which is the two transfers that you just talked about, those two guys, we found them in a pretty unique circumstances. They got better. They're loyal and will love our environment forever. It hurts to have guys move on, but I still think they did a really good job for us and created a hell of a lot of great memories for not only myself, but for you guys as well. And we're still going to fight like hell to get the ultimate one, which is MLS Cup.
Thank you both, and thank you for your question. Let's take one more from the audience for now.
I'm actually going to sound like a plant by you guys. Number one, the amount of access that you guys provide to the fans and to the groups can't be matched. There's no other MLS team. There's no other major sports team that's doing this. So I wanted to thank you all, number one, for this. You hear the concerns, and that goes from you, Mr. Sugarman, all the way down. You guys are always endearing. I've run into some of you guys, whether it's autograph signing or whatever, and there's never a time that you won't stop and talk. So I thank you all for that. Now, when it comes to player signings and so on, that's well above my pay grade. You guys have done a tremendous job in regards to keeping us competitive. We've seen a great turnaround in the past couple of weeks, and I'm excited about it. My only question is this. I'm a season ticket holder, and obviously my son plays soccer. He's in the Player Pathway program here with the union. My question goes back to something you said earlier related to value. I don't know if there's a floor that can be put on, SeatGeek and other stuff, but the only part that I struggle with at times is if I need to get rid of a game, what can be done in regards to pricing in order to see whether you can get something realistic for the tickets that you're selling?
Tim, you want to take that?
Yeah. Oh, yep. Thank you very much, by the way. I appreciate the comments. So we studied the ticket pricing on primary market, secondary market, and what is happening. And we got some really bright people and a few different outside external agencies, company that help us with the ticket pricing and modeling. And so what we try to do is balance out where we are in the league with ticket pricing, which right now is 14th in the league. So that our ATP is about the middle of the league. What's important to note is when I say we're 14th, we're not like $1 away from being 10th or 9th or 8th. The top of the league is double us. So if you think about what that means, right? If somebody has we're also the second smallest stadium in the league. So if you think about where that puts us, we're basically second smallest stadium with the middle of the mid-tier pricing. So if somebody has 20,000 seat stadium and they're doubling our ticket price, they have $12 million more coming out of the gates right away. So we're trying to be very balanced with growing our fan base. We're currently right around 14,000 season tickets, which is amazing. So we're trying to balance that. We want to grow a waiting list, get to a point where we have a waiting list, so ultimately we can increase the size of the stadium. We need to be thinking that way. As it relates to the ticket value, so we're studying that week in, week out, day in, day out of what are the prices in the secondary market versus what a season ticket member gets charged. So last year, as an example, the price for the secondary market was 30% on average, 30% above the season ticket member price, right? This year, through June, we weren't, obviously performing incredibly great. We were 11% down on average in the secondary market. So we get together and we talk about, okay, well, what does that mean from a season ticket pricing standpoint for next year? And we ultimately decided, hey, we need to keep prices flat. So that's the calculus that we go through. Now, on top of that, I know there's been some questions about the ticket exchange. We have 2 this year, and so we're going to change that. Next year, there'll be 5 ticket exchanges next year, so to give more value that way. So we're always thinking that way of is there value to being a season ticket holder in the event you have to sell a ticket? You want to be able to get your money back, not lose money. Totally understand it, totally get it. And for the most part, in prior years, that value has been there. Obviously, like I said, this year we were a little bit below. Hopefully, the last 6 games we're going to start to see that swing back to the good. So that's kind of the calculus that goes into it.
So we'll get to a couple more questions about the stadium advancements, like you briefly mentioned there. But first, we'll go back to the sporting side with some fan online submitted questions, and let's take a look behind the scenes. Ernst, what is a challenge in roster building that fans don't know about?
Definitely the salary cap mechanisms, because we are competing with the whole globe on players, and we have roughly, let's say 10 million to build the base of the roster, and then we can put some discretionary money into it, and we have a lot of player releases due to international windows where we're playing. We have a lot of international competitions where we need to release our players. And if everything comes together, then you are having events where you go to Portland with 14 field players, and half of them are more or less boys. So, but we won. So that's the positive on that. And that's a challenge actually, because we need to level out that money over basically 20 players in the roster, and we have only a few mechanisms to pay more on so-called designated players. But if you have players who are already good, like Carranza or Gastak, or even Glesnes or Wagner, you don't want to put a designated player in front of them, because you would counteract your money in a way, and your player, and even decrease the value. So that's what we certainly don't want to do.
Go ahead.
I just have one bit of data that I thought you might find interesting. So if you look at the top 135 highest paid players in MLS, and this is from the Major League Soccer Players Association numbers that they publish every year. This is from the April report. The number one team in the league with the most players on that list, we played last night, Cincinnati. Number two is the Union. There is no other team in the league that has more than 6 players on that list. So the way Ernst is describing it, we spread our money across the middle of we re-sign Andre, we re-sign Kai, we re-sign Jacob, we re-sign Jack, we re-sign Danny. And that burns up a lot of your cap space. But we think those are the players who know our system best. Those are the players we're most comfortable with. We know what those players are. Jim knows what those players are. So there is a strategy to this that is a little bit different. There are teams who spend all their money on 3 or 4 players, and then the rest of the roster is not in that top 135. So you can choose that mix. You can choose what we're doing, or some other clubs are doing, where you spend really more level across your roster. But this is Ernst's province. It's not ownership. We don't ask Ernst to sell players. We don't ask Ernst to buy players. We ask Ernst what will make us win. And he's got 30, how many years now in this business?
Almost 20.
Yeah, so we entrusted 6 years ago our strategy to him and our execution to Jim. And I got to tell you, I couldn't be prouder of what they've done so far. We're going to back them and support them to try to make us better, but it is a little bit of a different strategy, and sometimes it's hard to see. But when you look through that data and you go, it's actually, you can see what we're doing that's different. We have 7 really good players that we really entrust that we wanted to keep, and we had to spend a lot of money to keep them, and they deserve it. But it does burn up a lot of your cap space. It does make it a little harder in terms of flexibility. So, you know, we're not always going to be able to do exactly what we want to do, but I think if you watch, you'll see the footsteps that Ernst and Jim are taking, and you'll see the patterns, and you'll understand why they're doing it. It's painful. I'm on your same wavelength. We believe in continuity. We think continuity really helps. But think about how many players we've re-signed and signed again. And so we do value that very highly. We just can't do it with all 20 roster players.
This next question is in 2 parts. What plans are being explored to ensure a successful winter transfer window? And with the potential of multiple key players leaving the team, how will you find replacements?
We already started with that, you know. So I think we will have a little bit of a turnover, which is pretty natural. Every team, every roster has a certain life cycle. And, you know, there are players who want to go abroad. There are players who want to earn more money. We have all these restrictions. I think we might need to do something in attack. We might need to do something in defense. And yeah, we are losing probably a couple of midfielders as well. So we will probably improve our roster on all parts. And yeah, I think we can keep the core. That's most important, because the core usually gives you that certain kind of stability you need over the course of a season.
Jim, this next one is for you. One of our fans wants to know about substitutions. Do you make subs based on your gut? Is it something data-driven? And this fan asks, do you feel that you don't have enough game-changing options?
Well, first of all, how many subs did Emma Hayes make in the gold medal game? How many? Zero. No, I'm just kidding. Look, subs are a tactical approach to the game, right? And they're a big part of the game. We discuss it internally all the time. Substitution strategy. The difference now when there's 5 available, how do we maybe navigate minutes for different guys? Those minutes have to be earned, though. Every game state, every game that we're playing against, every opponent, home or away, the timing of subs is something that is always discussed, and there's always hindsight that you have. I equate it oftentimes to when we all sit down and watch whatever our favorite team is in England or Germany, and you press play in the morning, and it's an 8 a.m. game, and it's, let's call it Man City versus Liverpool, and Liverpool in the first 2 minutes of the game makes a play, center back from Man City makes a mistake, and Liverpool scores, and they say, Pep Guardiola got his tactics wrong, and you kind of go, wait a second. So I think substitution, we hear about the good and the bad, but we don't always, I'll just say, understand all the nuance that goes into it. It's easy in hindsight when we lose a game to say we should have subbed more, and trust me, I overanalyze that and think about it a ton. I would agree that I am reluctant to change things when things are going well, but I think I've evolved a little bit and have given more opportunity. I think, again, no one will remember it, but last night we make a change with Ali, who was a little bit fatigued. Quinny comes in and could have been mad for not starting, but instead his attitude and mentality was great. He said, I'm going to make a difference in the game. And if you look at our last couple games, as our squad is full and there is depth, you have an injury to Mbaizo, and Nathan is not really a drop-off, and you could argue qualities of both are exceptional. Leon does a great job for us in the previous game, but we go with McGlynn last night to play some longer balls to Mikel Ure to open up the team. So that depth piece, guys, is so huge, and that leads to more comfort with the subbing. Trust me, I think we're going to get to a point in this game where there's going to be enough data and circumstances and opponent analytics that we can go to, and there'll almost be an assistant coach on the sidelines that's just responsible for substitutions. So then you guys maybe will be more happy with me when I get kicked and grabbed by that person to make a change. But no, look, it's a fair question. It's one that I'm working on. I think there's always things you can improve. Trust me, we analyze it quite a bit, and we talk about different strategies. We've done it more times than not this year than I've ever done in the past, and subbing 3 guys at once, which I kind of don't love to do because I just think sometimes it can ruin the flow and the cohesion that we talk about being so important to us. And last thing I'll add too, guys, the biggest thing too about, if you can think about when we spread the money over the whole roster and our whole group, the importance of culture and really having belief from our group, that becomes a lot harder when some guy walks in the locker room and is paid 15 times the guy sitting next to him in the locker. I'll just say that is an instance I've learned a lot from my peers in the league, that guy can ruin the entire culture. I'll just put it that way. I won't use names because I know we're on film here, but there's lots of examples of that in the league. So that cohesion and that culture, I think, is what got us through what's been a really hard year. And look, I'll be blunt. I'll take the blame for this town hall, right? We lost games in such an extraordinary fashion that was so uncharacteristic of our group and so uncharacteristic of my life and time in soccer. We can go through them. Up 2 guys against Miami. You can go to some heartbreaking mistakes at the end of games. Let's be honest, that's why we're here, because we didn't get the job done, and I take the blame as the leader of the group for that. And it hurts. It hurts our players. It's been really, really tough. But I will say the one thing that got us through that tough time was that we had a strong culture, and guys didn't go off in 2s and 3s and start pointing fingers and blame, and the whole thing could have blown up, but it didn't. It's hurt. It's hurt this year. We're not in the position we want to be in the standings at all by any stretch, but I think we've gotten through that now and have a tough stretch in the league to get in the playoffs. But I say it all the time, our group, when they're cohesive and together like they are right now and confident, in this building, we don't fear anybody, that's for sure, but now we can go on the road too and beat anybody in the league. So sorry, that evolved off a substitution question. And see how I deflected that? That was good.
Thank you, Jim. Let's bring it back to the audience. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand.
Okay, that's fancy. So my question is kind of around, just like you talked about the strategy in the first and then building off with roster building, what's an indicator that you need to change that strategy? And not kind of pointing to the unfortunate run of games, but what's an indicator that long-term you need to change the strategy because it's not working, especially when you have turnover that might be coming up, or how many seasons or how many almosts do we go through to indicate that you guys need to change the strategy?
Yeah.
Also, thanks for sharing about Emma Hayes. That was a great game. We love that.
Well, the strategy worked perfectly fine for at least since I'm here. Like Jay mentioned before, I think we almost tripled our roster value in transfer market. And we had that question even, I think, last year when we sat together in training camp. What do we do? How do we want to structure our next 5 years? And basically, we all agreed that we need to do what we are good in. Yeah. And we certainly do not throw over our strategy now because we had maybe 3 months or not even 3 months of bad success, let's name it like that, where you find reasons for it. But certainly if MLS is evolving and we have a roster change or a roster rule change right now, where we can sign even more highly talented under 22 initiative players, and these are mechanisms who are very favorable for the purpose what we are doing, and that's where we need to look into and maybe adjust a little bit in our strategy, but we will not go 180 degrees in the opposite direction. That would make no sense for us.
Thank you. Let's take another from the audience.
So I've heard you guys talk a lot about wanting to win. I've heard you guys talk a lot about the team. And I think the reason that most of us are here today is because of the fans. And as somebody who owns season tickets to 3 different teams, one of which is Chelsea, one of which is Fulham, and one of them which is Philadelphia Union, and I currently have those. I travel a lot. I see a lot of fans in a lot of stadiums. I see fans in stadiums where they want to win every year, or they're in a contention for a win. I see fans in stadiums where they're just trying to keep from being relegated. And I see the MLS, which is a growing environment. But one of the things I've noticed about our fans is we're just as passionate about the football. We understand winning. We also understand losing. We understand good seasons. We understand bad seasons. But something that feels different about this season in the 10 years that I've been coming here as a season ticket holder is this year we felt disrespected. And I think that showed in a lot of different ways. Montreal game, nobody was there. It's not that I didn't have tickets, it's just I didn't want to go. And the reason I didn't want to go is when I went to the Azul game, the supporter section had more foreign fans, not foreign like foreign fans, but meaning fans that are not Philadelphia Union fans, in the section than supporter fans. The tickets, we didn't, there's signs everybody saying that this is a supporter section. You can't wear competing colors. You can't, you have to cheer. You have to be a part of this team. And I've sat with every one of the people here in this room at every one of these games, and I've cheered next to them, and I see the passion, and I see the love for this team, and I see all the things that I see anywhere else in the world where the money's bigger and the stage is bigger and the arena's bigger. And I don't see any difference between the two. But I think the reason that we're here today is we as fans understand that you're putting money into the team, but for some reason we're not feeling that you're putting the love into the fans. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed. And I don't know what the question is there, and I don't even know how to answer or solve that problem. But I can say that's why I'm here today.
Yeah, that's. I want to make sure I just try and answer the question/statement. So on the Cruis game, totally understand. Myself, Mark, probably 8, 10 of us were down there right around the entry to the Sons of Ben, trying to figure out how's the best way to handle this, quite frankly, with so many Cruis Azul fans having bought tickets in that section, which starts with the tickets being available for sale in that section, right? So that's the first part. Tickets were available. Second is where they got them. So if they buy them through us or they buy them through our secondary partner, there's a pop-up that says what you just mentioned. This is for Philadelphia Union fans. If you're not a Philadelphia Union fan, we're going to ask you to sit somewhere else, so on and so forth. But if they buy them through a different broker, if they buy them from a friend, if they buy them on a different secondary market, that pop-up doesn't happen, right? So in this case, we had, hundreds and hundreds of fans that were Cruis Azul fans getting into that section. Mark and many others from the staff were down there trying to ask every single one of those Cruis Azul fans, please take a ticket and we're going to put you somewhere else. In that scenario, there weren't many other places to put people because the tickets were sold out, right? So we were giving them standing room only tickets for a ticket that they wanted, which was closer to they bought a ticket closer to the field that they in their mind could sit in. So it's a little bit of a very, very difficult situation. And we tried to do the best we could. We were literally trying to get everybody to move up there. And there's a point, there's just too many people coming, quite frankly, too many Cruis Azul fans. So we're going to have to really rethink what that looks like, of how do we manage that going forward for a situation like that. It's unusual for sure, and one that we'd have to kind of, really rethink and what that might look like. I do want to talk a little bit, though, about just broader investments that we've been trying to make. Like, since I got here, which is now 9 seasons ago, probably one of the first things people said is, what are you going to do to kind of, change the area, invest in the area? We've got no places to go before the game, no places to go after the game. And, that's been on my mind over the last 9 years. So as I look out, around us here, we spent a lot of time purchasing the land that is all around us. We bought scrap yards, we bought junk yards, we've transitioned, obviously, the Sons of Ben to over here. We built this building, which was about, $2.3 million to build this building. We're doing the Sportsplex. So, in the spirit of trying to help transition the area, change the area, invest in the area, because I know fans wanted more to do here, I think we've been trying to make our way through that path. We have a lot more that we'd like to do, 100% more that we'd like to do in this area. We're at a point right now where for us to expand more and do more in the area, though, we've hit a kind of a threshold on parking, so we'd have to be thoughtful about where then people park. But bottom line is we've been trying to listen to what it is that, our fans want, more of this, more Union Yards out here and doing that. So it's a little bit about Cruis Azul and a little bit about the development we're trying. Did you have a follow-up?
So a little bit of both. I wasn't going to go into the Union Yards and all that kind of stuff, but since you brought it up, I'm going to do a little bit, touch on both. The Cruis Azul game is not the first time we've had a team from Mexico come here, even this season, where we were overrun in the River End. We had that problem in Saprissa. It's been addressed. It's been talked about with lots of people in the front office. I know I've had multiple conversations with people in the front office. The biggest thing that I saw that I didn't like, that was really kind of disrespectful, not only to our fans, but to the opposing fans as well. There were no interpreters. You guys had one guy that was trying to translate, and that was Camilla. That's it. There was nobody else available. CSC had nobody. Apex had nobody. We have a partnership with a language services associates group that literally this is their job. And we had none of that. That's the part to me where it became to a disrespectful level. And then we had other situations where staff were so frustrated with this situation that they're spilling over and taking it out on things that they think that they see during the rest of the game with actual fans who've been here no matter what. Not protesting, not walking out, here, rain, shine, everything. We have not, me and my daughters and I, we have not missed a game all season. Whether we were here for the Seattle game that got rained out, we came back. We've been here through all. And so to see that kind of level, I brought a friend who is wants to be a season ticket holder. I brought him to that game, Cruis Azul, because he came to the Peru game with me and he had an excellent time. He spent more time translating for other fans because there was nobody else to help them than he did watching the game. So that's a fan that has a family that wants to be a season ticket holder, but now they're thinking in their head like, wow, I'm Spanish speaking. My family is Spanish speaking. Our families are all from Peru. So like if they come here, is there gonna be somebody available for us? You know, those are the types of things that are happening as well. It's not just that we were trying to relocate people, we understand that. But this is not the first time we've had this situation. This is not the first time we've had a very high profile Spanish team coming here, a Mexican team coming here, even like Central American, like when we played the Salvadorian team. You know, we have this situation happen. It's been going on since we were involved in CCC. Now we have Leagues Cup every year where we're going to potentially have a Mexican team that's here with huge fan bases. We did this last year. You know, we had some hiccups here and there. That's new. We get it. But that situation in particular, that's one of the big situations. You know, and then when we go to talk about the off-field stuff, like the investments and stuff, the future of every industry, I can ask this question and I can just re-answer it for you, like almost rhetorical. The future of every business is the youth. I know that from my times talking with a couple of you guys on this panel, that the youth is the future. That's going to be your future season ticket holder. Those are the people that are convincing their parents to spend all kinds of money at the store. You guys spent all this money on this huge sportsplex. You spend money to bring in an MLS Go director to bring a program, a youth program here outside of the Chester program. My daughters have both been signed up for both of those programs now in spring, and I just got an email this week that you guys have canceled the second MLS Go program in the year. So what's the investment in the kids if off the field to bring, you know, like we drive from Philly. You guys have Philadelphia branded. You know how much advertising for MLS Go was done in South Philadelphia? Where there's a league that's literally, people are going there because they have nowhere else to go. They're tired of the disrespect at that league. They're tired of all this kind of things. I had conversations with the director. I said, let's get involved with the schools. Let's get involved with all these different organizations, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, all this stuff. It all falls on deaf ears. I asked about the advertising because we saw none. It's impossible to go through your website and find the MLS Go. Like if you're just a casual person, like I know, I'd search the website through everything. I can get whatever I want off of the website. But your casual everyday person doesn't have this opportunity. So my question is, when it goes to the Cruz Azul game and like we have Mazatlan coming here, if we're got all these fans that are coming in, is there going to be translation services? Is there going to be a more of an effort to push those types of fans out of the river end than just we're trying our best? Because at some point, trying our best doesn't really work when it's the same situation anytime one of these teams with a bigger fan base comes here.
So in terms of the language, services, it's a good point, and one we'll certainly take a look into and see what we can do for that. That's a solid point. I like it. In terms of the youth, so I'm a huge believer in like what you stated about kind of youth marketing and growing the fan base from the young up. So fandom starts between the ages of 6 and 9, not just for soccer, but for generally in any sport. You'll find that that's when fandom really starts. And I think it's fascinating, this concept. And the league is trying to put more energy around youth marketing and what we can do to find more younger fans. And if you think about it, the journey of a fan, a lot of it starts with the parental pass down, right? Your parents are a fan. They, let's take an Eagles game, right? If you're a 6, 7, 8-year-old kid and it's an Eagles Sunday, there's something unique happen, right? Your mom and dad are putting Eagles green all over you. They got a bunch of people over to the house. They've cooked different food. Maybe on Friday before the Eagles game, your elementary school said, hey, everybody wear green. And they're getting kind of like exposed to it in all these different ways. And so I think we've got to figure out from an MLS standpoint, from a union standpoint, of like how do we kind of do the same thing? So the idea of MLS Go is you're right on. That is a great idea. We have to figure out how to get it in scale to get it out to as many people as possible. And so if people don't know, it's a new program that the MLS has launched called MLS Go, with the idea being that when you sign up for effectively recreational league play, you're going to play in a team or a league that represents an MLS team. So you're going to wear an MLS jersey It could be the Red Bulls, it could be the Union, it could be whomever. And that's the way they're going to do it. It's very similar to NFL Flag. If anybody has ever experienced NFL Flag, there's a lot of different sports facilities around here that run that concept. So it's just going to take some time to get us there so we can actually get it going and get the scale and get over the hump that has to happen in the beginning of it. But I think that's a great way to start it. We actually started the group that you're discussing, which is called the Union Youth. We started that probably 5-6 years ago. So we're now in front of about 20,000 kids a year with our Union branding. We make zero money on it, right? Make no money on it. But it's an opportunity to be in front of them, and not be in front of them to teach them skills and drills about how to dribble a soccer ball, but to integrate the sport, to integrate the love, the hearts and minds of those kids, those parents, those coaches to the Union. That's the real opportunity. You guys have probably heard me say this. About probably 7 years ago, my daughter at the time, 7 years old, and I was at her game, and she was playing for a team in Westchester, and I'm on the sideline, and I'm just looking down, all of the people down there on the sideline wearing Eagles colors, and I thought to myself, man, we've got some work to do. Because these are all soccer-loving people that are watching their daughters play soccer, and I need to do something to change them so that when they are on the sideline as parents, that they are wearing the Union colors. Now, I think we've made massive strides since then because we introduced the whole Union Youth Department and we're in front of all these parents and kids and coaches. But at the end of the day, like I said, the game there is not to teach somebody a skill or drill, although that's what we're doing. It's to get them exposed to the Union, to the brand, to get them to love the players, understand who we are, understand what our coaches are all about and what we teach, and then ultimately so they can grow up and be fans and be season ticket holders. So we are, I think, making a lot of time or putting a lot of time and energy into that. It's going to take time, is the bottom line. I love the concept of MLS Go. I think it's going to be successful. We got to execute it on the right way, though.
Thank you. We'll head back to our online form questions with a new topic, stadium expansion. We've mentioned match days at Subaru Park, so here's a question from a fan. Many new stadiums have opened up all across Major League Soccer in the past few years, so Subaru Park has begun to show its age. Are there any plans for improvements?
So I'll take that. So first off, I love the location of Subaru Park, looking out at the water, the bridge. I mean, it's iconic. I hear it from everybody that comes in around the league, my peers around the league, and they talk about it in just it's such a unique space and very unusual in the league. So maybe it's about 3 years ago now, we put about a $10 million investment into the stadium scoreboards and all the video boards to enhance that. We're going to be putting in new sound system in the off season, so that'll be a big step. We also have an opportunity, I should say, to our food and beverage partner contract expires at the end of next year, so we're going through that process right now of evaluating who the new food and beverage partner will be. As part of that, you'll see a lot of upgrades, particularly to the concourse, to the food and beverage, and how that looks. A lot of trends now in sports are the market concepts, walk in, grab and goes. So you're going to see a lot more upgrades along those lines. We've also, I think we've publicly stated this, we hired an architect firm to study the stadium and what could be done to the stadium. So while I mentioned earlier that we're about 18,000 seat stadium, which puts us basically second smallest in the league, we also have one of the fewest amount of premium spaces in the league. So we need to figure out how do we create more premium spaces, and then at the same time, capacity, right? How can we put another 4,000 to 5,000 people into the stadium? So that's, I would tell you, between now and the start of next year, we're going to be launching the premium spaces. So there'll probably be 3 different spots that we'll be looking at, introducing those over the next couple of months here, but they'll be online before next year. And then the goal is to create a waiting list. So I told you earlier, we have 14,000 season ticket holders. We need to get probably 4,000 or so deep into that waiting list, and at that point in time, then we'd certainly look to expand the stadium.
There's a lot to look forward to, but let's go back to the fans for a couple more questions.
So speaking of kind of the stadium expansion, and you guys can go into the parking lot and kind of the issues that has caused fans over the last couple of years. I know that I've had conversations, I know that is being looked into. But surely with expansion, something that could alleviate some of that is also the improvements of public transportation to the stadium. As a prior fan and a reporter now, I take public transportation to the stadium and it's atrocious. I grew up in a very bad neighborhood as a kid and I don't feel comfortable walking from the nearest train station to here, especially at night by myself after a game. And I know if that's the case for me, there are plenty of other fans that are feeling that way as well. So just wanted to give you guys an opportunity to address that as a group.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's one of our biggest priorities as well. We need a better train station, a better train platform, and we think the spot for it is right up Rainey Street between 5th and 6th Street. There's a train station that goes, that goes right by there. The platform that is down on Highland Avenue is dilapidated. It's a shame that, a place like Chester doesn't have a nicer train station. I can tell you if you lived in Wayne, Pennsylvania, you wouldn't see a train station that looks like the one on Highland Avenue. So I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right for the city of Chester. And I think from an economic development standpoint, a big piece of economic development is good mass transit. So I completely agree with you. We would say to get to the point where we want to do a stadium expansion, we need the train. We need the train here. We need a train station here because we need to be able to get the downtown Philadelphia fan that lives downtown in the city out here and back at the times that make sense, right? You don't want to leave the game early, so I totally understand, I totally get it. I have brought that to the city of Chester. They're in agreement. They're not in a disagreement. I was just on a call earlier today with folks from Delaware County. I'm a board member at what's called the Riverfront Alliance, which is a bunch of different CEOs from around the Chester, Delaware County region. And I've laid that out as one of our key priorities. So I'm trying to get as much energy around this concept as possible. So I would tell you in the last, 5-6 months, I think this concept is starting to pick up some speed. But as you can imagine, that's a huge lift, right? To put a train station, which is down there, albeit dilapidated, and move it and put it up here, that's a big lift, but it is something that we're very much keen on doing.
Let's take another from the audience.
This will be the third shout out to the women's national team winning the gold medal. So Jay mentioned that you've invested $100 million into the infrastructure, and with the ascendancy of women's soccer, can you talk about the aspirations or plans for bringing in a women's professional soccer team to Philadelphia?
So I'll start. Jay and Richard can certainly fill in. So very keen on it, first and foremost. Very keen, love the idea. From a Philadelphia Union perspective, from my perspective, I want us to have our the ecosystem of soccer to run through the union, right? So I want that to happen 100%. I love what's happening in the NWSL. And so we've been looking at this for quite some time, going honestly back to probably February of 2020. And since then, if you follow it, the expansion costs, the price tags, the franchise has gone from a couple $1 million to closer to $100 million. And so over the last couple of years, purposely, we've brought NWSL teams here, right? So we just had Gotham, we had the Spirit, we've had a few others going back a year or two ago with Carly Lloyd. I guess it was 2-3 years ago at this point in time. So we've been doing that purposely to see when we put an NWSL team / match here, what happens? How many people show up? So we had about 2,500 people showed up for the Gotham match against the Spirit. And what I would tell you right now, it's tricky because to really to have a franchise, you probably want about 10,000 fans, 8,000 to 10,000 fans every game. So I don't want to take those data points and say it wouldn't work. I don't think that's fair to say that, but it's certainly something that we continue to study, continue to look at. We're having conversations with a lot of different people inside of Philadelphia about this topic. This is probably a weekly topic for myself and Jay and Richard that we're discussing and trying to figure out what's the right way to do it. And quite frankly, if we do it, do the fans show up? and does the corporate community support it, right? So we're trying to balance all of this because the price tag has gone from about $3 to $5 million to probably $100 million to do it. Now, having said that, we have been very thoughtful about the sportsplex and kind of future-proofing it. So now that we've built it / building it, we've been doing so with the idea that, hey, we could put a women's team here to practice. We can put a women's locker room here, et cetera. So it's been on our mind 100%.
Let's take another.
Hi, my name's Mike Thomas. I've been following this team daily since before it was a team, since 2008, literally every day, right? I'm not here because of a knee-jerk reaction to a bad stretch of games. Jim, if anything, I probably owe you an apology for being too critical 6-7 years ago. I'm here because of Jay. Honestly, these are underlying concerns and issues that a lot of fans like myself that have been longtime fans have had for over a decade now, primarily regarding spending and just general ambition around this team. I guess my question is, we brought up roster structure challenges, so I have one question. How have you voted in the past to alleviate these various roster restrictions with the Board of Governors? What are you currently lobbying for to enable Ernst and Jim to get more blood from this stone that seems to be you, quite frankly? And why do we think additional spending wouldn't, I guess, facilitate and supercharge our current strategy? And I don't think anyone reasonable is asking us to be a Miami or a Los Angeles, but when we're being spent under the table by teams from Utah, Ohio, Charlotte, we have the lowest record transfer fee, 30 out of 30 teams. San Diego's already passed us, right? So I guess we're looking for more evidence that, hey, we have a fantastic foundation. Jim and Ernst have been phenomenal with this current strategy. Why can't we build on top of that with some incremental spending, have more of a three-pronged approach with development, finding these great deals, and then spending a little bit on top of it? The new U22 initiative, we have not used the existing U22 initiative to an appropriate extent, and that requires spending as well. So I guess the question is, why can't we have it all? Why can't Philadelphia be treated like the major market that it is? Why are we second-rate citizens to very small markets in this league?
Yeah, look, two things. Philadelphia is a great market. I'm a little surprised 5 years of the most points in this league has not resonated more than it has. We are one of the top teams by quality on the field by third-party measures. So I'm a little surprised at the view that we are terrible. We are not terrible.
Our success should be celebrated, but we can be even better. Why be good when we can be great?
Okay. So we're good. So we've gotten to good. So let's figure out how we're going to get great now. Okay, so let's break it down. So you're asking a good question, which is why do we spend money on re-signing players and putting $75 million into a development strategy that doesn't pay off overnight, that doesn't bring a high-profile player overnight, but at least what I've seen in Ernst's career and what I've seen him successfully do elsewhere is build a process that continually makes you a top team. Not betting it all on one player or two players or some of those other high-profile players that, look, Richard and I talk all the time. We would love to bring in a high-profile player, but we're not going to tell Ernst what to do. We're not going to tell Jim how to play. We ask them serious questions about, is this the best strategy for us to win? So what you've asked is a question we ask all the time, which is, if we can get a player for this amount of money, is there a better player who will fit our system, who you guys think makes us a better team, a better club, for a little more money? Now, I will tell you, it's very rare that these guys ask for something that we don't say, sure. We're spending $100 million. If they came to us and said, I got a better player for $1 million more, do you really think we would say, no, we can't spend that?
So.
Does $5 million incremental in first team spending break the bank for this ownership group? And if the answer is yes, then you need to find additional investors that allow you to spend and fund with this first team properly. $5 million is not a big ask for major sports.
But $5 million don't necessarily make a difference. That's my simple answer. Listen, we were even looking into strikers over in Europe now for a replacement for Julian, but they would not have helped immediately as we have made our experiences with summer transfers. There was Adeniran in the market who is good, and he will even show more, I'm pretty sure about, if he's here for a little bit longer, and he could play the other day. So he came in on Tuesday or Wednesday, and he could play on a Saturday already. And I think that was the right choice to do it. We are constantly looking into that high-profile strikers, and if the right guy is in the market and we are convinced that we're gonna need to do it, we do it. Yeah, and then I know exactly that ownership is backing me up. We will do it at the right point of time, but we always need to also keep in mind that we might not kill our culture in the locker room by one guy who is making so much more than everybody else, and then expectations are coming up. That can be dangerous as well, for the whole culture. And going back to 21 and 22, we have been great. We have not been good, we have been great. And I'm still 100% convinced if our team would have been a little bit more disciplined with that COVID and the party they did, we probably would have won MLS Cup in 21, and we could easily have won in 22. We all know of that. And I mean, 23 was a little bit a downgrade, if you want, like that. But if you consider the fact that we have been playing 51 games for the first time in the history of the whole franchise, and this is already something totally new for the league that we have now with all the competitions coming in. We have a roster congestion, which is almost insane. We made a comparison to Man City, as they are pretty much playing most of the games over in Europe, and we are doing almost double in travel. We are playing through the heaty summers and have all these conditions over here. Sometimes we even need to play in altitude. And we played throughout the season. Last year, we played 7 games a month without the FIFA windows where we didn't play. And under these conditions, and traveled double. So you can imagine what kind of wear and tear that is also for our roster. And if you end up fourth in the league, and you get a deep run, let's say, in the semifinals of the conference. That's not even a bad season, let's say it like that. So, but we're always improving our roster. We try to do our best, and if the right guy is on the line, we go and get him.
I'd like to dispel a myth, okay, which seems to be going around, which is that somehow there's these closed-door meetings where Jim and Ernst come to Jay and say, hey, we really want these guys. Can you put an extra $5 million, and we're going to get these 2 guys or this 1 guy, and that's going to be the difference maker. And Jay says, no, I don't want to spend the money. That is a myth, okay? And I want to dispel it right here, right now. In the 6 years that I've been involved in ownership, I have never once heard Jay say no to what these guys want to do, okay? We invested heavily in Ernst and in Jim, and we have a great team that we respect greatly. And the only question we ask is, what does it take to win? That's all we care about. I'm an owner. I'm probably more of a fan than I am an owner. And let me tell you, do I think it would be cool to get Griezmann to come in right now? I'm hearing LAFC rumors and all that. Wouldn't it be cool? Why doesn't he come to Philadelphia? Wouldn't that be great? I think that would be wonderful. But I need this guy to come to us and say, hey, this makes sense. This is going to fit into our system. This is what it's going to cost. And this is what's going to help us win MLS Cup. If he did that, we'd sign on the dotted line. Okay? But there's one thing that I want more than having Griezmann or some other superstar or Benteke or any of these guys that you look up to with other teams. I want to win, okay? And what we've entrusted in these guys is give us the strategy and the team to win. And not win in 5 years with some delayed academy thing. No, win this year, win last game, win next year, and win consistently. The other thing I would hate to have is a situation where we bring in, you know, half a dozen old buddies from Barcelona. They come in, they're okay for a year, they disappear, and then where are we left? We're left in a rebuild. We don't want to rebuild. We want to have a steady flow of players that are going to help us win every year. So I understand your frustration. I get frustrated too. I want those sexy players, okay? But what I want more is games like last night, okay, where we kick their butts. And that means a lot to me.
We'll open questions up to the audience one more time after this final prepared question, and we can go down the line here. Why should Union fans be confident in this club going forward?
Look, this is probably the most important thing I work on every day, to think about how we can be the best club. We go to these MLS meetings, and the last thing we want to be is a second-rate club. We've done a good job so far. There's so much more to do, but this is our pride and joy, as it is yours. We love this club, I hope, as much as you do, and we're thinking about it every day to make it better. And I know we're going to be successful. We will make mistakes. We will have to pivot when things change. But, you know, I've seen enough success in the last 5 or 6 years. We know what Ernst can do. We know what Jim can do. Our goal right now is to support them. We have a long-term strategy, as Richard said. You know, our development strategy will be, this will be the only super campus in the entire league where we have a school, a stadium, our first team, our second team, all of our academy programs are all in one place. Nobody else in the league has that. We are the only place that has that. So yes, do we have a 40,000 seat downtown stadium? No, we do not. But what do we have that those locations don't have? We've built an entire campus to support making our players the best they can be. This idea of development is the underlying foundation. And now we've got to win today, tomorrow, and yesterday. We have to have a style of play that beats most other teams. I think the last 5 years have proven you can beat some of these high-profile teams with the sexy superstars. It has to be a collective effort. We can never give up for a second. Our guys have to be on it all the time. And again, all credit to Ernst and Jim. They've been able to do it. So I have no doubts we will be successful. We will not give up till we, reach that echelon that all of us want, which is every year people respect, admire, and expect us to win silverware. So from my standpoint, we're still on the journey, but we've made a lot of progress. And for those of you who have been with us since day one, we love you. We hope you've seen that progress. For those who are new to us, this is just the beginning. This club is going to get better every year. That is our promise. Sometimes there are going to be hiccups on the field. One of the things that we struggled with coming into this year is we knew with Copa and Olympics and Euros, we had to stay healthy. We weren't. We didn't stay healthy. We lost Andre. We lost Leon. We lost Mikel. So one of the first things we did was say, Ernst, what can we do in the physio department? Are there things we can be doing? New ideas that we can be using to keep our players healthy, to make them better. That will never stop. We will not, accept status quo if there's a better way to do stuff. And if that means a better player, let's go get them. But you don't want ownership telling Ernst and Jim how to play or who to put on the field. We entrust them, and when they ask for something, we try to support it. And all I can tell you is the Sportsplex, makes no sense if you want to win tomorrow morning. No sense. But Ernst has told us since the day he came here, the way you can build an exceptional club is to put everybody in the same place, to let those kids see the second team play, the first team play, and look out and see that stadium, and go to school in the morning and practice before that, and then leave school in the afternoon and practice again. Can you imagine that 15 years ago? We were practicing in Chester Park once a day. We had no academy. We weren't the best academy in the country. So take pride in what has been built and push us to be even better. That's fair. You guys that are the fans who made this team happen, push us. But let's look at where we are, let's look at where we're going, and let's all agree our goals are the same. We want this club to win. We have been reasonably successful. There's more to do, and we will do it.
That concludes the prepared questions, but we have time for 3 or more from the audience from our Union faithful.
Hi guys, thanks again for this. This is great. My name is Brady, season ticket holder. I'm in 137, so, you know, River End. A couple things caught my attention. Mike brought up a good point that I'm going to play off of. Ernst, you referenced the match congestion in the last couple of years. You're aware of that. All of you are aware of that. Jay, you just mentioned if we just didn't get hurt, we need to bump up our physio. So roster depth is huge, and you all are aware of that, clearly. Jim, this last stretch of games, I appreciate you taking the collar on that. But I got to say, as a fan, you didn't really have a whole lot coming off the bench to work with. We had our core the last couple seasons, phenomenal 5 years, and I don't want to diminish that, Jay. We are so grateful for the efforts. But when we see you run it back, and we see our team getting older, and we see the other teams in the league outdistancing us in roster development and going for it, and then we have a series of international competitions. Oh, by the way, can any of you work with MLS to stop them playing during international windows, please? Because we're one of the teams that has the most presence on these teams, whether it's the senior team, Olympic team, whatever, and we suffer, right? Which means that our depth is even more important. And we love the homegrowns. I think we even have a chant, we love the homegrowns we do. No question. We don't want them to have to be the guys we rely on when our team is hurt and away in competitions for months at a time. 7 losses in a row at home is not us. Well, but it happened, right? Why? Because our depth isn't what it should be. And now, a top 5 market in the country, Philadelphia, this hurts, Ernst. I trust you with everything. You just referred to us as a developmental team earlier. I've never heard that, and I don't think anyone in this room believes that or wants that. Again, we love the homegrowns. We love our academy. We could plant that flag. We are the #1 academy in the league. Great. That can't be our depth. Not in this league, not when the rest of the league is outspending and seemingly has a better understanding of how to roster build when they're not relying on the homegrowns. You know, and to Mike's point, we aren't utilizing the current U22. So what are we going to do when we get more? We're not utilizing it the way it's built now, but you're saying that we're going to utilize it better when we get more flexibility. But we're not using it. So again, I appreciate it, but this is what this town hall is. How do we justify being a developmental team in the top 5 market in the country when we were this close? Because now every one of your moves has to hit. Absolutely has to hit. Right? Leon, phenomenal. Kai, great. But then we spend a little on Baribo, our record transfer maybe, or was that Ua? I don't know. But it's up there. And then we spend on Ua, right? We're seeing these guys. We don't get a Carranza every day. We don't. And if we do, they're not going to hit all the time. So hopefully Danley Jacques hits, but now he's not depth anymore. If we lose Brujo, Now we're relying on him, and again, our depth now suffers, right? And this is the mindset that I, as a fan, can't understand. So why can't we bring in a couple of $2-3 million players? We don't need a Gareth Bale. We don't need a Benteke. We don't need to blow our culture. But we don't always have to go for the GAM buys and hope they hit every time, because the pressure that puts on coach, on the team, on the teammates, on ownership, it's like if we swing and miss, and we've done a lot of that, it really amplifies the holes that we have in our depth. So I just want to say that developmental comment, Ernst, I don't know if you meant it that way, but man, that stung. We're not a developmental team. We can't be. We're Philadelphia. This is a top 5 market in the league. If that's the way we're going to be treated, man, I don't know how to handle that as a fan. Thanks.
Well, I think I need to clarify a couple of things here. Development is one of the main pillars our club is basically based. And development and player development, and I mentioned it before, is not just including academy, but also the second team and the first team. And this is proven the strongest tool any club has. And I'm not talking about Philadelphia Union. I'm talking about a club like, I just had a presentation from Pep Guardiola, and he's so proud about the development they are doing with every single player from their first team. And that's what I mean with development, first and foremost. Second, our depth, if everybody is healthy and we are complete and do not release players, is good. And that's what we have seen already when we have been playing and winning game, even with our depth chart. And I don't necessarily disagree with you when we use more, or when we have more a chance to use the under-22 initiative. But if you go over the league, there was a lot of misses, to be in your language, in the under-22 initiative. And we also need to see that we have a lot of academy players who are basically under-22 initiative players elsewhere. And we are bringing them in. And I'm talking about a player like McLean, who has basically that status. We even could have talked about Quinn Sullivan, who has that status. And all the players we already, like Paxton, these are basically our under-22 initiative players. But even so, we want to go out in future, and we now have an even better possibility to act in that sense. Because in winter we couldn't. And that's also pronto, or the reason is also in the roster and budget guidelines. Carranza was turning 24 this season, and he went into a full DP out of a young DP, so we were not allowed to sign additional under-22 players to the one we had in winter. That changes now, when we have the new rules in place. And we were discussing this, but in this moment, we have 9 games left in the regular season, and then the playoffs are coming up. We better focus on that purpose in winter, when we need new forces and new infusions to our roster. And I hope that everybody can understand that.
Thank you. Let's take another from the, oh, go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
This is really important for somebody asked, what are we fighting for at the league? We're fighting for a lot of things at the league. But one of the things I almost never hear is we're fighting for the American player. There is almost no other club in this country that cares as much about the American player as we do. So we can abandon that. There is no other voice louder than ours saying, how do we as a country get great if we're not developing great players in our country? And we've built the #1 academy. We've built the reputation internationally. People are coming to our games to steal our kids because they're that good. So it's not going to make us win tomorrow. In fact, it's very frustrating because there's no return on it really. But we like this U22 initiative. They've changed the rules. We were capped out. We couldn't do anything else to build more depth this year. We kind of knew this was going to be a tough year, that particularly the period where all these international call-ups were happening. But our development strategy, as Ernst said, goes vertically from first team all the way down. It also goes horizontally. We're trying to really find the best kids in this country, bring them to Philadelphia, show what a great city this is. And then when they go out in the world, when Cavan ends up, playing at the top of some league, I want them to say, he came from the Philadelphia Union Academy. That's part of building long-term what we should all be proud of, is we're not just trying to win a game today, we're building a legacy for this club. What are we, 15 years old? Think about what we're going to be 10 years from now and what those kids who go out and succeed in the international arena are going to do for our reputation. The kid who wants to be a great player, we want him to come here. And we want to train him. And we may sell some, but as Ernst said, as this league develops, those kids will say, I don't need to go anywhere else. I want to play at the Philadelphia Union forever. So we probably don't have a very different vision of how to get there. It's just, it's going to take time. We're putting in the hours and we're putting in the money to help us get there. And if there's going to be a moment where, Ernst and Jim come to us and say, we got cap space and we want to do something big, as Richard said, we're really interested in making this team win. If they think it makes us better, we are completely going to support them. Nothing matters more than this club winning. But I will say, and maybe this is a little different than others, I'm more interested in winning every year, not just one year. I see these clubs who win, and then they miss the playoffs. That's not who we want to be. So put it on us, push us. Why are you doing what you're doing? We believe in it. We're going to keep investing in it. But if it doesn't make sense, if it isn't common sense, ask those questions. We really like hearing those questions because it's a debate we have internally. And if we don't have a good answer for you, then we need to do more work. But I feel like the strategy that Ernst put in place is the one we should support. We are supporting it as best we can. And if we need to tweak it, we've been open door. We talk every week, multiple times. And the question is always, what can we do better? If it's the field surface, we went and fixed the field. If it's the practice fields, we're going to go fix the practice fields. If it's a player, we're never going to tell Ernst, no, we don't think that player's good enough. So this is a team effort on the field and off the field. None of us alone can make decisions that are going to make us the best team in the league. But collectively, I think we can be, and we're going to try our hardest.
Thank you, Jay. We have a question over here.
If Cavan is supposed to be the player that we're hearing he is, why aren't we playing him? Why are we planning to move him in the future and not use him now?
Because he's 14 years of age and not necessarily MLS ready right now. But he's an extreme valuable talent, and he trains with the first team, and when you see him training every day with the first team, you really can see how good he's gonna get. And we use him mainly in the second team right now, on the bench in the first team to give him that experience. But he will be probably a part of our roster, maybe even coming next year.
Let's take 2 more questions from the audience. Mark's walking around with the microphone.
Hi, I'm Robin. We have been season ticket members since day one as well. I kind of have a fluff question, if you will, so I'm kind of going with aesthetics. Yes, there definitely needs to be some cosmetic updates to the stadium, and my thought is to keep your fans. So far as keeping your fans, like season ticket holder gifts, they've been pretty, t-shirts, that's kind of lame, this kind of lame. And then I think what was really sad for a lot of the other ticket members, and it really didn't affect us. We have 2 seats, we've had them for 15 years, but our friends have 6 seats, and they gave the blankets out this year, and it was 1 blanket per account. Kind of not okay to your diehard season ticket fans, or why aren't there events for, I don't know, those of us that have been here for 15 years and continue to cheer your team forever? I don't want other season tickets at other Philadelphia sports teams as much as I love them, but the only ones that I want are the Philadelphia Union. I kind of feel like sometimes you don't want us as much, and speaking of your season ticket people, they need some help dealing with I hear tons of complaints. I am a person that walks around and says hi to everybody. And I hear things about, oh, my ticket rep didn't do this, or my ticket rep didn't do that, or they never got back to me. I think that needs a little work. So just a comment or two.
Good. So the gentleman that was just holding the mic, yeah, don't go anywhere there, Mark Evans. Yes. Yeah, don't you go anywhere. So listen, all great points. First of all, thank you for being a season ticket holder for so long. Really, really appreciate that. I did hear some stuff about the blankets. I guess people love the blankets, so I guess that's a good thing. Well, we probably need to do more blankets, I guess, going forward. So take a note. We'll look at that. We'll see what we can do in terms of maybe it's a different number of blankets or gifts per account or per ticket or whatever it is. But it's fair. I understand where you're coming from on that. Listen, we work extremely hard, day and night, nonstop, relentless, to try and be the best version of the Philadelphia Union. That's every single person, from the training that we do to the leadership, the management training, and so on and so forth, to be the best version that we can be so that we can service you and we can keep a full building. That's our goal, right, is to be the best. I want to be able to walk around league meetings and people look at us and say, wow, what are you guys doing? How are you doing that? And be a model for other teams. So that drives us. It'll continue to drive us. Just hearing the comments that we heard today, we're going to get better from it, whether it's yours, these are all awesome comments and we appreciate it. And yeah, just keep them coming. So thank you. Union Sambas. Who did that one? Oh, the Red Bulls. Really? Oh, man.
That's an Adidas.
All right. We'll have to look into that.
Just say that's Adidas.
Yeah.
Let's take one final question here tonight.
My question had to do with something two of you guys up there. One about the salary cap, and then I guess Richard, right? Next year? Sorry. About not wanting basically to loan the Barcelona team, which I agree with. But how is it a Miami or some of the larger market teams can go about that if there is a salary cap when one player who I'm against him, I don't like him as a player. I can hate a lot of people for that, sorry. But how is the league allowing that other than it's for the league? And, I hear that players don't want to be in Philadelphia. And I don't know why that is. I think it's a great team. I've only been here 5 years supporting the team, and I hope to be here for another 15 years. I think what you guys have done is wonderful, but that salary cap, that developmental piece, and then that Barcelona comment really stick in my craw, especially when we talk about having a deep bench. So how do we go about fixing that and so it doesn't happen in the future?
Well, I'm on now. If I tell you my honest opinion, quite frankly, then I would probably pay a big fine by MLS. But no, it's cameras in the background. Well, the reason is quite simple. If you look at what Busquets made, and that's publicly, last year, and what he is making this year as a DP, out of a sudden, there's a difference between 7 million. And that tells you something. And there are a couple of other players who have previously earned quite a lot of money, and they are now 10 players somewhere else, and that happened in some different places as well. That's how the salary cap gets managed by some clubs. And we are doing it our way. And Miami didn't win so much until yet, apart from the Leagues Cup last year. And I'm pretty curious what they are doing this year. But of course, they are a city who attracts really high caliber players with their living conditions, like LA, as we have seen in the past. And we are doing it our way. And we are managing the salary cap as a lot of other clubs are doing it as well. And we try to improve ourselves, that's clear. We try to bring the best roster, and honestly, our roster depth is not even that bad. That's what we realize right now when everybody is here and we are at full strength. It's almost difficult for Jim to choose the starting 11, and he has a lot of alternatives he can bring in. Our academy players and the homegrown players, apart from the ones who are basically almost starting, they are sitting in the last third of our roster. So in the roster spots, reserve roster, supplemental rosters. This is 21 until 30. So they chime in if we have injuries, we have releases, and that happened this year due to that schedule congestion and due to all the international measurements. And by the way, I didn't mention before, US Soccer was visiting with the sporting director and the talent or boss of talent identification. We are the club who have most roster or releases for the US national team from our academy and the second team. We have had part of 10 players released during international windows. And I'm fighting against playing in international windows, but you know, I don't get hurt by the league. And again, I also need to say that we need to maybe take even more consideration how we construct our roster, not to lose too many players due to international releases in future, because it does not get better from what I'm seeing, and I got the schedule for the next year just this week. And we have the Club World Cup. We have a blackout period again. We need to see what we do with Leagues Cup in addition, and we have 34 regular season games in addition to a extended playoff format. I mean, if I tell you this, that should ring a bell already. How do you get along with that? And we try to build a really deep and consistent roster for next season. That's all what we can do by using all the mechanisms which are given to us, and we will use the under-22 mechanism. We go probably with the 2 DP and 4 under-22 players, which gives us another depth piece, more or less, if they are not even starting.
Thank you all so much for your questions. To close us out, Jay, the panel, would you guys like to give us some closing remarks?
I'm sorry we didn't get everybody's questions, but again, feel free to reach out to Tim. Again, this club started with the fans. You guys built this club before it existed. What you think, what you see is really important to us. We want to be responsive to it. There are things that you're not going to like, or you might not agree with us, but believe me, everybody on this panel is trying every day to figure out how to make us one of the top clubs. And with that success, we are building something really special here, and you should all take a lot of pride, all of you who have been long-time season ticket holders, new season ticket holders. You're part of something special. The rest of the league recognizes that, and we want to thank you for your support, because we wouldn't be here without that. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for coming, and we're so excited to see you back here on Saturday for the Leagues Cup quarterfinals.